another viewer letter. This time they write, "Dear pathologist, we spin our routine chemistry samples at room temperature, but then store them in the refrigerator. For some specimens, we change our centrifuge to 4 degrees and then spin them. Why can't we spin everything at 4 degrees? Well, that's a really good question, and it comes down to a practical matter between cost, timing, and quality. In a refrigerated centrifuge, the refrigeration unit accounts for much of the size, cost, and complexity of the unit. Most labs have got some non-refrigerated centrifuges, so let's go take a look at one of those first. In normal operation, specimens will be traveling at 200 to 300 kilometers per hour in a centrifuge. At those sorts of speeds, the air is going to have enough resistance that it will slightly warm up the specimens. In addition to that, we also have a motor in here which is warming up the specimens. If you take the specimen out of an air-cooled centrifuge, you'll notice it's a little bit on the warm side. How warm? Well, from one weight paper, we know if you start at room temperature, 22 degrees, have a typical loading, at the end of a 15-minute run, your specimen will be at 25 degrees. Put batch after batch after batch in it, and the centrifuge will warm up, and the specimens will increase to about 27 degrees. 27 degrees is warm, but it's certainly below body temperature, so we won't be destroying any enzymes. And does it have an effect on analytes? Well, for many analytes, no. We know that D-dimer, INR, PTT, fibrinogen are unaffected by these sorts of temperatures. But that's not true of all specimen types. Some analytes are thermolabile. Ammonia will increase due to the metabolism of cells, and ACTH will decrease due to proteolysis. These processes can be slowed down at lower temperatures, which is why, as our viewer had asked, some labs will turn down the temperature of their centrifuges in order to get a better result. But sometimes things aren't quite as simple as that. As long as the sample is sitting on top of the cells, those effects are happening. So some labs, particularly labs who have validated a faster centrifugation time, have found it to be net better to centrifuge sooner at a higher temperature rather than waiting for their centrifuge to come down in temperature. But you'll have to use whatever your local lab has validated for that. But that wasn't what our viewer was actually originally asking the question of. And that's, why not leave the centrifuge at the low temperature all the time? After all, how many analytes are affected by a low temperature centrifugation? Cryoflag, fibrinogen, cryoglobulates, perhaps LDH, but of your routine analytes, that's about it. So why don't we do it? Well, it becomes a practical consideration. If you've ever taken a bottle of water out of a cold fridge, particularly on a humid day, you'll know what the problem is right away, and that's condensation. And the same thing is going to be happening in your centrifuge. The lids are going to be constantly opening every 20 minutes or so, which means you'll constantly be getting air into your centrifuge. That means you will be constantly having to move all the condensation from your centrifuge, which is extra maintenance. But there's one more consideration, and that's the gel that's in these tubes. If you've ever tried to pour molasses from a fridge, you'll know how thick it is. The gel in a tube is at least as thick. It's basically like Vaseline. So at the lower temperatures, the viscosity becomes so high that that gel layer will take a lot longer to form. And so in fact, the labs have gone for shorter centrifugation. This will be something else which causes them to not be able to run at that shorter centrifugation. So hopefully that answers your question of why we don't leave it at the lower temperature all the time. It's basically a matter of practicality. So if you've got any more questions, please contact Angie Bender at the ECSLS, and maybe your question can be answered on next week's program.